Elizabeth Warren and Wall Street just declared a truce. I am not usually holding hands with the CEOs of multi-billion-dollar banks. Now, this is why you need to be educated. This is why you need to know crypto, is because we got people that are uneducated or deceiving purposely the public about crypto. And you guys need to know for yourselves so that when your coworker, when your boss, when your friends, when your family, when the people you go to your religious organizations with ask you about crypto, you can let them know about the claims. I'm Crypto Dream. If you're interested in monetary systems, future of cryptocurrency, Web3, I try my best to be educated in all things. I'm a hobby guy. Just like, share, and subscribe. Let's go on. So Elizabeth Warren's been very active. Why Americans should worry about Subway's new ownership. Senator Warren is trying to prevent sandwich monopoly. Elizabeth Warren raises concerns with Education Department over the return of student loan payments. Senator Progressive demands Biden reduce Gaza citizen deaths caused by U.S. weapons. Something I agree with. I don't like war. Elizabeth Warren says Elon Musk's Twitter buy shows need for wealth tax in U.S. I'm not a big fan of that. I want to be rich. I don't want to be taxed for it. So the person that she partnered with is J.P. Morgan. These are the banks. This is the institution that crypto has been fighting against. Obviously, they have some bias. J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon told a panel of lawmakers on Wednesday that he would shut down crypto if he was the government. I've always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc. We'll talk about that. Dimon said during a Senate Banking Committee hearing when asked by Senator Warren, Democrat from Massachusetts, about his opinion on why cryptocurrency could be an attractive tool for bad actors. We'll talk about that. If I was the government, I'd close it down, Dimon continued, noting that crypto can bypass government controls. When it comes to banking policy, I'm not usually holding hands with the CEOs of multi-billion-dollar banks. Okay, so deeply opposed to crypto. JP Morgan, right? First of all, you might be hesitant from listening to this guy because JP Morgan's not the purest. JP Morgan reaches $290 million settlement with Jeffrey Epstein victims. What was going on? The victims accused the bank of enabling sex trafficking by the deceased financier when he was a client. Victims of Epstein had previously reached a $75 million settlement. Federal judge who is hearing the case Monday approved of a class of eligible victims defined as women who were sexually abused or trafficked by Epstein during the time J.P. Morgan maintained accounts for Epstein and related entities. Let's talk about more hypocrisy. These are things you need to be knowing, like I said, to be educated for when people come at you and ask you these things. J.P. Morgan has been fined over $35 billion for illicit and fraudulent activities. Did any of your staff use Bitcoin or crypto? No. Under Dimon's leadership since 2005 has been fined $39.3 billion across from 272 violations since 2000, with $38 billion of these fines occurring during his tenure, according to Good Jobs' first violation trend. According to 2013, J.P. Morgan paid a record $13 billion fine for misleading investors, misleading them over toxic mortgages deals significantly contribute to the market collapse. You remember that? What about cryptocurrency, right? The bank launched its own crypto token, JPM Coin, on a private version of Ethereum blockchain. Oh, Ethereum's crypto. Okay. For its institutional clients. The blockchain-based tokenized platform in October with notable clients like BlackRock. JP Morgan contributed to $65 million funding for Ethereum infrastructure firm in April 2021. But you'd shut down crypto. November 10th. JP Morgan introduced JPM Coin in 2019 to enable institutional clients to make wholesale payments on a blockchain. Last month, it reached a milestone of handling 1 billion of transactions daily. Though this remains trivial figure compared to the 10 trillion the bank moves every day in total. So these people are involved in crypto. These banks are involved in crypto. People will tell you that Bitcoin is not sustainable, it's bad for the environment. Remember we talked about BlackRock and JP Morgan, right? Why Bitcoin miner might actually be great for sustainability. Sam Lemon. So could BTC equal ESG? According to professional services firm KPMG? The answer is a resounding yes. In a recently published report, KPMG makes the case that Bitcoin can serve a number of ESG functions, from stabilizing power grids and driving investment in renewables to monetizing stranded energy and capturing methane. The paper coincides with the new research from Cambridge University and Bloomberg Intelligence that reveals Bitcoin's environmental impact to be much smaller than previously thought. Bitcoin miners can tap into energy source anytime, anywhere in the world, and they can constant search for low-cost energy, which they increasingly find in underutilized renewable sources such as hydro, wind, geothermal, and solar. Bitcoin miners can act as an energy sponge, soaking up the excess energy when needed to prevent it from overloading the grid. But they can just as easily shut down at a moment's notice when demand grows too high, as Bitcoin miners did during a heat wave in Texas. So they're actually very, very creative. Methane is 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide and is responsible for approximately 30% of global warming. To make matters worse, landfills act as a methane mega factories, spewing toxic gas into the air as a byproduct of the decomposition process. So what to do with all this methane? Believe it or not, Bitcoin fixes this. Companies are finding ways to capture vented methane on landfills and then turning the methane into electricity. They can use the electricity to mine Bitcoin. Both practices reduce carbon emissions and monetizes stranded energy by taking toxic fumes and converting them into digital gold. As the process was scaled, it could forever change the way landfills operate. So it's good for the environment. We've been lied to. Think of all the banks that are open right now that people go into and how much energy it uses just to have electricity for the place. All the ATMs. Let's talk about CBDCs. These banks would love not initially, but eventually like a CBDC. Government would like CBDC. Central bank digital currency would be great for a tyrant. They'd be able to control how you spend your money, how often you get your money. If they could freeze your account, they could instantly fine, they could instantly inflate the entire currency, they can instantly deflate it. They can put expiration dates on how much time you have to use your money just in case you're on welfare or anything. You only have so much time to use the money. There's an emergency, so we got to limit how much money is spent so that everyone can have enough resources. These are just some scenarios that could happen. And, governments are known to do stuff like this. Let's look at Trudeau. Trudeau gives banks power to freeze funds without court order in bid to choke off protest funding. Protest, nonviolent protest, choking off funding. New emergency powers invoked by the federal government on Monday will enable the abilities of Canada's financial institutions and regulators to track and control funding to protesters interfering with the border crossing and restricting movement. The government is issuing an order to immediate effect under the Emergencies Act authorizing Canadian financial institutions to temporarily cease providing financial services where the institution suspects that an account is being used to further the illegal blockades and occupations. This order covers both personal and corporate accounts. The illegal blockades have highlighted the fact that the crowdfunding platforms and some payment services providers they use are not fully captured under the Proceeds of Crime and Terrorist Financing Act. Covers all forms of transactions, including digital assets such as cryptocurrencies. They would love the ability to stop any protest against what they deem. And just to remind you about this gentleman, Trudeau was under fire for an Easter trip despite urging Canadians to sacrifice their plans. These are some of the leaders, and people can't even voice their opinion without being cut off financially. People need money for food. Money is not just buying stuff. It's your labor and your efforts monetized. All the time you spend away from your family, all that time you're working, that's what money is. And banks can just print off money while you worked and you spent time in the cold or wherever you work away from your family just so you could survive. And they can just issue it, just create it out of thin air. With cash, they can do that. With a CBDC, they can do that. With Bitcoin, there's a limitation on Bitcoin. You can only have 21 million Bitcoin. That's the cap. It can't be disbanded. It can only be destroyed. So let's talk about the funding of terrorist organizations. An idea of what they might consider a terrorist organization is people that are just trying to protest. Now, this is science.org. Why criminals can't hide behind the blockchain. Even with cryptocurrencies, investigators can follow the money. Here we have an image, right? So, although Bitcoin is designed to protect privacy, it nonetheless generates abundant public data. Investigators tried to connect the transactions publicly recorded in the crypto blockchain to sales on online drug markets and ultimately to sellers. So we have sellers, we have buyers, right? Here's the transactions. You have signature X for the seller and then ABC for the buyers. The miners do the transactions, new Bitcoin, whatever. They can see who paid who, and eventually they can get the IP address, track down the seller, and then you have evidence for everyone. Investigators can follow the market and Bitcoin blockchain. They also try to uncover sellers' IP addresses. The paradox of cryptocurrency is that its associated data create a forensic trail that suddenly make your entire financial history public information. So why are they thinking terrorists are going to use it? Why are they saying that? Because it can make an entire, not just one transaction. When you sell drugs, one person, they can find you with drugs. They find that. They know that one transaction. This can actually tell the entire system. Every buying and selling. They track down this wallet tied to this person and then all the transactions. This is better to track selling and buying of illegal activities. Not only is it good for discovering criminals, but we could actually track, I don't know, maybe politicians. Maybe that's some of the concern is that some of the politicians would be able to be not able to hide. Let's look at some more politician kind of people, right? We got Michael R. Taylor, right? An American lawyer who played leadership roles in the FDA administration. Also, company Monsanto. This man has worked for the government and for one of the biggest organic farming. I'd really like to know how the transactions went there. See, this guy was, let's just read it. Obama gives former food lobbyist Michael Taylor a second chance at the FDA. Food safety system looming in 2010, the FDA made a strange move earlier this week when it appointed former Monsanto lobbyist Michael Taylor to lead the agency's fight against contaminated peanut butter and lethal lettuce. Named the new post of Deputy Commissioner for Food. These people are so tied together with business and they try to complain about it, right? Let's talk about BlackRock. BlackRock seems to own the world, right? You might hate this. I really don't care. You can do your own research, deny it, say it's true. Let me know in the comments. How about that? James O'Keefe exposes BlackRock recruiter bragging about deciding people's fate, saying war is good for business. This guy, Varley, said that these banks run the world because you acquire stuff, you diversify, you acquire, you keep acquiring, you spend whatever you make in acquiring more. And at a certain point, your risk level is super low. Imagine you've invested in 10 different industries, from food to drink to technology. If one of them fails, it doesn't matter. You have 9 others to back you up. You got 10 grand you can buy a senator. It doesn't matter who wins. They're all in my pocket at this point. We're talking about banks. We're talking about industries. We're talking about investing. These people make money. And when they're diversified like this, it doesn't matter. Experts like chain analysis argue that blockchains help reveal illicit funding flows, which is why Hamas actually disavowed crypto fundraising back in April. Its supporters were getting wrapped up in precisely because they use public cryptocurrency networks like Crystal, allowing intelligence agencies to track them. Terrorists aren't using them. Drug people aren't using them. So what's the problem here? It's not bad for the environment. Bitcoin miners have a necessity, and that necessity is energy. And they're discovering so many different ways to obtain energy. And even energy that would be going to waste is being used. It's actually becoming very efficient. Everything these people are coming up and out with is just to stop it. Stop Bitcoin. And, you know, maybe they're not trying to stop Bitcoin because BlackRock, I mean, they talked bad about Bitcoin for years. And apparently they're making an ETF over it. Apparently they believe in it. It's common practice to lower the price, talk bad about some, which isn't really ethical and probably is against some laws, but I'm not a lawyer and I'm sure they figured out all the laws for that, especially if this Varley person says you can buy a senator. Listen, this isn't financial advice. This isn't lawyer advice. This is just me, YouTuber, Crypto Dream. If you like this content, subscribe, please. These people are making money, and there's politicians that are holding hands with CEOs of multi-billion-dollar banks. My hand seems a little empty. They don't want to put a hand out for me. They don't want to put a hand out for you. Be aware of these things. Do your research. Learn how the system works. Be educated for yourself. The reason all this is a danger is because CBDCs will be the disruption. And you will hear YouTubers, ones that are against it and for it, both say it's inevitable. I don't think it's inevitable. I think the more you believe it's inevitable, it becomes more set in stone, which I am completely against. My dream is that we do not have it, that we can use other methods of payment, methods that cannot be manipulated the same way that our dollar bill is used. If you believe in this future, you're in the same dream as me, and I cast my dreams at your feet. Tread softly. Be educated. Tell as many people as you can so that they are aware, so that when these politicians come out, people can know they're full of garbage. Like, share, and subscribe. Turn on notifications, and let me know what you learned in this, and let me know what you disagree with. It's Crypto Dream. I'm out.